Hello, and welcome to Army Roll Call, a podcast and space for Army to gather, connect, and bond over a shared love of BTS. My name is Naema, and I'm your host. You can follow us on all socials at Army Roll Call and listen to us wherever podcasts are found. I am so excited to be in front of you and to be finally recording this intro podcast episode. It's been a long time coming. I procrastinated a little bit on getting this out, but, behind the scenes, there have been a lot of preparations to get to this moment, and I'm just really, really excited to bring this project to you, and I hope that once you learn a little bit more about what this is, that you're excited too. I think I want to take this intro episode to introduce you all to myself and to my overall vision for this podcast. So to start, once again, my name is Naema. I'm 28 years old and I've been in Army since 2017, just before BTS's first appearance at the Billboard Music Awards, where they would go on to win Top Social Artist for the very first time. And it was kind of voting for that award that was my first kind of fan Army experience. I made a separate Twitter account for it and honestly just kind of never looked back from that point. So that's like a mini background on me. But next I want to give you some context on why I felt the need to start this podcast. And first, to kind of do that, we'll start with a state of the Army fandom, which, if you've been a fan of BTS for any period of time, 10 years, a day, an hour, 30 minutes, you've probably heard of conversations or been a part of conversations about how the fandom has changed over time, and you're probably no stranger to points of view that the fandom has gone downhill, and that it isn't what it used to be, and oh my god, what has happened to this fandom, etc., etc. So, this conversation has taken place long before I became a fan of BTS, and will continue to take place in the future, I'm certain. And it's easy to spiral into it, and I think nowadays it's maybe particularly tough because of BTS's pause in group activities. We're really just kind of just sitting with ourselves. Army has just been hanging with Army, twiddling our thumbs, waiting for BTS to come back. And I'd say that quality time has not been without its disadvantages. But luckily with Jin and J-Hope being back and the return of the other members not too far out on the horizon, just a month away at this point, this alone time is coming to an end. But them effects, girl, let me tell you, it's felt. In my case, it's just like a lot of the people that I followed on Twitter initially and enjoyed interacting with a lot when BTS were active have kind of gone on a bit of a hiatus themselves. I'm also in a very different stage of my life from when I first joined the fandom when I was in college. I'm now someone with a full-time job, and the way I've engaged in the fandom has changed accordingly. However, when I kind of get bogged down with kind of all this negative speak about Army and negative Army experiences that people could add to their TED Talks or think pieces on how the fandom has changed for the worse, I have to kind of step back and remind myself of one thing. And that's that these are online spaces and it's not real life. It helps me to take the time to remind myself that, honestly, Army interactions that I've had in my real life have been overwhelmingly positive. When I flew from New York to Chicago on my own to see J-Hope at Lollapalooza, I was a little nervous. But the people that I met there were so kind and sweet, and they took care of each other and added so much to my experience there and are an important part of why, when I look back on that experience, it's one of my favorite all-time memories of being an Army. And actually, one of the people that I met there, we both live in New York, so we ended up trying for tickets to see Yoongi together on his D-Day tour, and we did end up going, and that was also another wonderful experience, too. And, there are so many smaller moments, too. There was one time when I was shopping in the city with a friend, and I noticed a vendor was playing BTS in the background. It was dark and wild. Clearly this vendor was a person of taste. And when I mentioned, hey, I really like this album, I really like BTS to the vendor, she instantly, out of God knows where, pulled out a photo card, gave it to me. We chatted a little bit, went our separate ways, and it was such a, it was a highlight of my day. And I find that these interactions have characterized a vast majority of my real life interactions with Army. And that's not to say that there aren't valid negative experiences that people have in this fandom. I also know those experiences very acutely as well. Those types of experiences will continue to happen in our fandom, unfortunately, because try as we might, we can't help but be a microcosm of the real world, which includes racism and sexism and xenophobia, homophobia, and a slew of other byproducts of the patriarchal capitalistic societies we live in, but that is another podcast entirely. However, like I said, the bulk of my real life interaction with Army have been so positive, and I want to use Army Roll Call as a space to help cultivate that positivity. Because that's what I overwhelmingly see when I'm living my life outside of the screen of my laptop or my cell phone. So that is part of the reason that I wanted to create this podcast. Another reason is that it is so hard in adulthood to make new friends. And when I moved to New York, I was getting my master's, and I was lucky that I was moving to the city at the same time that I was doing school. Because I had at least a community of people that I could find friends in. But since wrapping up my master's, there hasn't been a lot of opportunities for me to build community, and I was hoping by doing Army Roll Call, I could do that. Army come from so many different backgrounds and have so many different points of view, and I want to rehumanize Army. I think it's easy to forget that when you're online, the people that you're interacting and talking to are real human beings with families and hopes and dreams, and it's easy to erase all of that or decide that none of that matters when you're online. But in each episode of Army Roll Call, I will interview an Army, get to know them, and allow you as listeners to get to know them as well and their stories. And I think that's so important because at the end of the day, there are very few of us who are going to get to meet BTS in the flesh. I know, it's painful for me. I like to live in the delusion that maybe I will, though I do have mixed feelings on if I'd be able to actually handle that. But that's a tangent. But for the vast majority of us, our day-to-day experiences in this fandom are interactions with other Army. And those interactions play a huge role in our experiences as Army and as people who stan BTS. So I hope to use this platform to highlight how precious and important those interactions are, as well as create IRL opportunities for more of those precious interactions to occur. So I have some long-term goals as this community is built and hopefully continues to grow that involve curating activities outside of this podcast. I kind of envisioned a future where maybe there's a monthly brunch. I think that would be really cute. That people can attend, or maybe we can take advantage of, the free outdoor movie screenings that take place in New York over the summer. I'm also someone that attends a lot of protests alone, and there's safety in numbers, so maybe even creating groups for people who want to go to protest together and watch out for each other's safety. I have a lot of big dreams and a lot of big goals to use our collective love of BTS as a foundation to strengthen our Army community. So yeah, that's just a little bit of what I'm trying to do here with Army Roll Call. I invite you and welcome you along with me on this journey. And I'm actually currently looking for people who are based in New York and are willing to be interviewed for this podcast so I can round out my first season. The interest form for this can be found on all of our socials. We are at Army Roll Call on Bluesky, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube. I have all socials kind of up now, so in the future I may decide, I might end up choosing Bluesky over Twitter or whatever, but I'll keep you updated if that's the case. But those are right now all the platforms that are active. But yeah, alright, so that's it for now. I'm so excited to be launching this podcast and this project. Thank you so much for listening to this intro episode of Army Roll Call. And once again, you can follow us on all socials at Army Roll Call and listen to us wherever podcasts are found. My name is Naema, and I look forward to welcoming you back on the next one. Thanks.